Oh, there you go. We have a comment creeping. Everybody, welcome to your post show for Random Thoughts, and we're here with a random question from someone on Discord. If you support the show at patreon.com/the Pensky Valley, you can leave questions for us, and we'll answer them on these little post show things. Kyle says, inspired by the Deadwood movie podcast. It's called Something Pretty. It's on YouTube now. You guys can check it out. What is the best revival of a TV show, and why is it Twin Peaks? Are there any that you guys still want to see? He stole your answer?
Yes, my answer would be Twin Peaks. I think that's been the best. It's the best because I think it was exactly what it needed to be, but I think a lot of people weren't. It's one of those. Twin Peaks is a very David Lynch show, and it ended with a lot of questions still in the air. And David Lynch, not really one known for answering questions. And so I think a lot of people went into it expecting it to be like tie some things up.
Yep. When
it does to an extent, but it is 18 hours of David Lynch basically with the throttle open. And it's fantastic. It's really great. The one that I wish they would do, I think it's probably past its prime at this point, but and I don't think they could do it because of the number of people involved. Or the main person involved anyway. I always thought it would have been interesting to do, this is going to surprise nobody, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reunion.
Like a 5-year reunion or something for their high school.
Like yeah, maybe. That could maybe be the setup. But like the idea that Buffy is now in her 40s.
Yeah.
And like what does that look like? Because I think that would be, is she a mom? Is she still doing Slayer stuff? I think the Buffy crew in their 40s could be a pretty interesting story.
They're all still around, right? All those actors are still...
Joss Whedon is
I guess
not
he's
exactly
blacklisted.
Yeah.
I don't have... Well, I guess... Do you think that David Lynch has answers?
I do.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he is
I think he
happening.
does. Yeah, I think he does. I just think he doesn't like to tell people because, it's his... the stereotype is that he doesn't like to give out answers, but there actually are. If you find the right interview, sometimes he just starts talking about things. Like if you ask him directly, he will shut it down. But I've seen some interviews with him where he just kind of starts rolling into talking about certain things, and you actually realize he's giving you more info than he usually does.
I don't have any revivals that I want. Like, are you operating with a for your Buffy pick? Are you saying that this is something that you find realistic, or this is just like a fantasy thing that could happen?
I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's not. I would be shocked if it happened, especially at this point. I think it's too far. Again, Joss Whedon is persona non grata in Hollywood, and I think. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. It won't happen without him, and I don't know if people would do it even if he was involved at this point.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that sucks though is like as we learned from the Deadwood one, time's a motherfucker, and you have your memory of the show that you love is going to be assaulted very quickly.
Yeah.
By this reunion thing. And sometimes usually it's not very good. Usually it doesn't really hold up to what it's calling back to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's
even with the same people, people are different 10 years later, and it's not the same thing.
I mean, look at Arrested Development. People wanted that to come back, and then it did, and everyone was like, who wanted this to come back? This is terrible.
No one liked this show. Did the Netflix seasons of Arrested Development do damage to the series? I feel after the Netflix seasons came out, it became less of a referenced thing. I feel it did damage to the original seasons.
I don't know. Maybe.
I watched
I
like
think
two of those Netflix episodes. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is not what I signed up for.
I struggled my way through season 4, and then we started to watch season 5, and it was actually okay. It was it was much better than season 4. I think because in season 4 they did that thing where they couldn't get everybody in the same room.
Yeah.
So they changed up the structure of it, which was really distracting, and it just wasn't as funny. But season 5, I think it was a lot more people together at one time, so they had a little bit more of a flow to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does damage to it only in the way like, did Muhammad Ali coming out of retirement to lose like 4 fights damage his legacy, you know? Because Arrested Development was a gold standard show. And I think the people who still perceive it as that don't even consider seasons 4 or 5. Like people who talk about The Simpsons as being a gold standard show. It's been on like twice as long as the seasons that those people consider to be the gold standard,
the good,
like
good ones.
35 years of The Simpsons with 10 good seasons has not made people think less of it.
Yeah.
No, I should say it hasn't made people think less of the good stuff anyway.
Yeah, the good stuff is still remembered. Because I guess I would, I think The Simpsons has taken a hit in terms of overall greatest TV shows. I think by staying on for so long, I think it's done damage to its like history or something. Probably the same with a lot of those shows. Like probably the same with South Park and things like that.
I thought the times that they saved Community, they ended up being pretty good.
Yeah.
Like when even the weird Yahoo exclusively on Yahoo season that they did was pretty good.
Episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one apparently they're going to actually do the movie, so to get their 6 seasons in a movie. So that'll be a really interesting one to go back to and see if how time has affected that.
Yeah, not well, I don't think. I don't have any. I don't think I have any. I don't know what my favorite one would be. I don't think I've ever been super impressed by any of them. When I was younger, not really. Like the Deadwood movie is just okay. I think you can listen to the podcast to hear full thoughts on that, but it's just okay. And that's my favorite show. I didn't like the Arrested Development reboots.
What about Picard season 3?
That was bad. That was bad. No, so I don't think I have a favorite revival, really. No. So we'll just go with no. I can't think of.
They have there's enough years between seasons of True Detective that every time one comes out, it feels like a revival.
Yeah. I didn't like that either, unfortunately. How's the new season? Okay, this is just one episode so far.
Really good. Yeah, the first episode was great. Yeah, I think that was one. I think the second season did a lot of damage to that show.
Yes.
To the point where I don't think a lot of people watched the third season, and the third season is actually really good.
Is it? Okay. Is it still Pizzolatto or whatever his name is? Is he still the showrunner?
I can't remember season 3. I think he had been pushed back a little bit, and I don't know if he's directly involved with season 4. He's in the credits, obviously, but I don't know if he's like in the room or anything.
Yeah, creative force with it. Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to see. I mean, I guess do you consider Better Call Saul a revival, or is Curb Your Enthusiasm a revival of Seinfeld? Yeah, spinoff.
Yeah.
Then no, I don't like revivals. I'm getting older to the point where I'm just like, it's done. You don't need to do this anymore. It's all right. We all enjoyed it while it was here. We don't need to bring this thing back. That's it. Anything else to talk about? We're done. No, I guess we're done. That was the only question. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed
What we're trying to say is, when this show is done, we're done. We're not coming back.
We're done. Not coming back. Never coming back.
Not even to cover the Voyager reunion show.
The Voyager documentary will be our return to podcasting glory. No, I don't think so.
Would you consider Star Trek the Motion Picture as a reunion show?
No, I don't think so. I can see the argument for it, though.
It's like 10 years after the show's off the air, right?
Yeah, and it
12 maybe.
Makes and it feels that way in the movie itself. No, I don't think so. If you so Buffy, would you rather see a revival or would you rather see a reboot? If I give you both options.
I personally would rather see a revival, like a few episodes, maybe like 4 or 6 episode revival. Because while I do think a reboot could be interesting, it would not be for me.
Yeah.
And so, which is fine. It doesn't have to be. But that personally, it wouldn't interest me. Telling the same story again wouldn't interest me as much as seeing where these characters are now.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I'd be probably less inclined to reboot something than not do it and do a revival. Because then because the Friends revival, we watched that. Where everyone just looks incredibly old and plastic and surgerized and obviously full of ketamine, as it turns out to be the case. So no, I don't think I need to reboot those things anymore. Thanks,
what
everybody.
If they did a Seinfeld reunion, but it was only Newman?
I see Curb as a Seinfeld because they did that Curb season where they remade the show, like they came back for another Seinfeld season.
I think that counts. Yeah,
yeah, I would.
That's a clever way of doing it.
That's my favorite way because they did have a Seinfeld episode in that season of Curb, which was their final produced show. I'll go with that. I think this is Curb's last year, apparently on HBO.
Really?
I haven't watched Curb in 6 years, probably. But
isn't that weird when you have a show that you like really watched?
Yeah, it just
for like 5 years.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you kind of fall off, and then you realize it's been going for 5 more years after that.
Yeah, it's the album thing. Where I look at a band's discography, I'm like, oh, I used to like this band in the 90s. Oh my God, they have 12 albums, and since 2023 was their most recent release, and I don't know any about that.
As far as I'm concerned, Green Day put out their last album in 1997. That's where
the last Green Day album is American Idiot. That was their final album to me. Right. They didn't do anything after that. Nothing.
Yeah.
But because REM was going up until 2015 or something. Was their last album? Yeah, then they broke up.
How do you feel about band revivals?
Clearly a money grab in a way that shows aren't, I think.
I don't know. I still feel like money grabs too.
The shows do too, yeah. But for some reason bands feel more egregious. I don't really like that. I'm also just like, it sounds like I'm not into anything, but I really don't. I'm of the opinion seeing a young cover band of a band is better than seeing their aged selves come back on a reunion tour and play the songs that they stopped liking to play. I really love cover bands because they clearly love the band and they put their backs into it. But I wouldn't want to go see the Police on that reunion tour or anything. It just seems
I listened to some of the stuff. They sounded pretty good. Yeah.
I think it just seems cynical or something. But do you like band reunions or whatever?
I think it's tough because generally I feel like the tour is usually better than if they put out like a new album because the new albums are usually.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Yes. Yeah.
The one exception being the Ronnie James Dio era Black Sabbath got together in like 2009 and put out a new album, and it was fucking great. It was really good, and the tour that they did was really good. So sometimes it clicks, and sometimes it's worth doing, but a lot of times the album, whatever the album is bad. The Van Halen one was okay. The Van Halen album they put out with David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
I remember liking that album, but even there, it's like these are fine Van Halen songs. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. It just doesn't. Much like the TV show, it just most of the time it just doesn't have the zip of the original thing. You know, the excitement isn't there, the songs aren't there, the hunger isn't there. So
Yeah. Nope, everything has a lifespan, I guess, is something you learn as you get a little bit older. That's it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back with the next Star Trek episode concerning flights in a couple of days. Hope you enjoyed this content. And otherwise, check out the Patreon. Goodbye.